As teachers, we love our students, but sometimes we struggle with how to reach all of them. In this episode, we talk with an expert who shares 5 awesome gadgets to help your low vision students succeed.
Years ago, I had a low vision student in my school, and we were a really small school, and our classroom technology transformed the way that they were able to learn and really empowered them. And we want you to be able to have the same success with students with low and no vision that come to your classroom. And so we are excited to have you join us on this episode. Welcome to the EdTech Unpacked podcast, where we inspire and equip educators to create meaningful learning experiences, highlighting a thoughtful approach to the integration of technology as we teach and transform the lives of our students. I'm Desmond Suarez.
And I'm Aaron Long, and we are passionate about helping educators learn how to better use technology to engage their students. So Desmond, how about you introduce our guest here today?
I am so excited for our guest today. This is my friend, Mike Villafane, and we are nerds. You're in good company. We are real good nerds. We talk about technology all the time, and the cool thing is that we both teach technology for our work. So Mike, he teaches low vision and no vision students how to use technology, but I can't explain it as well as he can. So Mike, please tell us a little bit about yourself, especially what you do for work as a teacher.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Mike Villafane, and I'm what you call an access technology instructor. So I teach students how to use computers or any device. I sometimes joke and say anything that squeaks or beeps or talks that you can put in your pocket or hold in your hand or use on a computer. That's what I teach. So basically, it goes from teaching people how to touch type non-visually, and then deciding whether that person needs to use a screen reader or whether to use large print software. And then we go to tablets and watches and digital recorders and Braille devices and anything that will basically help someone have more independence or go to school or go to work. That's pretty much what I cover.
And one of my favorite conversations with Mike about technology, and it really ties into his work, is so much of accessibility is just about bringing someone who needs help up to an equal level to consume. However, Mike is someone who loves to program and loves to do cool things and wants to produce things. And so we get excited about talking about how technology can hopefully help someone not just be a passive consumer, but be a positive contributor to society.
Exactly.
Right?
I like to tell people that I like to bend the technology to my will, but I'm not always successful with that.
I love it. He does better than most, for sure. Speaking of which, before we get into our discussion, we always like to have a fun get to know you question. So this time is, what are the apps on your phone dock? Aaron, let's hear it.
All right, let's do it. Hey, real quick, Mike, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today. I'm a little jealous of you guys getting to hang out together in person, where I'm states away here, but it's great to have you. Thanks for joining us. All right, here we go. So this might be a little boring, but first on the left is Safari. Okay, I'm an iPhone guy, but that's where I live a lot. My favorite to-do app, Desmond, do you remember the name?
Oh, man, we did a whole episode where he featured a lot of it. I don't know. If I thought long enough, I could find it.
It's
or
Nosby or Nosby.
Nosby.
I'm still not sure how to say it. It's amazing. So my phone app and then email. And so I wanted to qualify this, though. So for email, I use Gmail as my client. I wanted to qualify this. So I would have my calendar there because I'm so about like scheduling, but I have the widget up above. So if I didn't have the widget right above, I'd have that in the dock. Probably, kick Safari out if I had to choose. So how about you guys?
Very good. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I'd like to say that I don't have much on my dock. I just have the music and the phone and Safari, but that's because I don't need to as a non-visual user. I just type letters in Braille on my touchscreen, and it brings up any app I want. So the apps that I would have on there, or at least I have in my head, I guess you could call it the imaginary dock, is usually the Bard mobile app where I can read audiobooks. I have also the Bank of America app, and where I can pay for lunch every day. I would also have the There's an app called Aira, AIRA, where I can get visual assistance. There's an app called Be My Eyes, where I can get visual assistance also with humans. And then I have Seeing AI, which is another app that will scan things and tell me what's going on. So those are the apps that I would have, but I could just quickly type the first few letters of those apps and they just pop up on my screen instantly.
We definitely want to have a link to those apps in the show notes, so check below.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, so for me on my phone, and it's not necessarily my most common apps, although the first one is probably, I use a Pixel. I have the new one coming, the Pixel 10 coming. It's in the mail this week. But I have my Messages app, my phone app, which I don't use that often, my password manager app, which is LastPass. I'm not recommending it. I'm going to be switching. And Chrome, and then on Pixels, you can have, I guess on Android, you can have like it'll guess what your next app you're going to open is. So it's a predictive slot for my next app. So I have that. And right now it is Google News. It thinks that I read Google News at this time of day, which is probably pretty accurate. So, yeah.
Dude, the password app in your dock, that's surprising. I would never, ever think to put a password app in like my print. No, not at all.
I use it all the time.
That was the big shock for me. That's great.
I use it all the time. All right. So to launch our discussion, I just want to tell a little story. Years ago, it was probably right around the time I first met you, Mike. We had a student who was a middle schooler, showed up to our school, and she was low visioned. And we are a small private school. We do not have any direct accessible resources at our school. And they knew that coming into our school. We don't want to pretend that we can service a student and help a student that we can't. And they came to our school, and we were upfront about what we could offer. And the big thing that we could offer is we could offer a laptop to use in the class. And that was still where not every school was doing that. The school they had come from was in the public school. And imagine being in a public school in middle school, and you have everything you already feel very different. And so this student had massive sheets of paper that she was supposed to look at to do her assignments, and a bulky computer that wasn't the same as the classmates, with software that was different and everything. And this student felt very called out, very different. And those were probably needed tools, but because they were so different, they didn't like using them. And a great tool that doesn't get used is not an effective tool. And so when they came to our school, we had, at the time we were using MacBook Airs, the same as all the other students. And we would have been willing to, but we didn't need to install any extra software for the student, because the biggest thing they needed was pinch to zoom. And they used that all the time. They would zoom in, they were on their screen. This student loved technology as well and was always on their computer using it to do their assignments. And all of a sudden, the technology enabled them to keep up with their classmates just the same and do the same things their classmates were doing. And it didn't make them feel as different, and it was really an amazing, empowering tool. And from that point forward, and we're doing this podcast, one of our first episodes I wanted to do is this episode here, because I wanted to bring in my friend Mike to talk about how assistive technologies can do that for a student and empower them to be able to do everything that everyone else is doing and do more, because they have other powers that visioned people don't have. And so in that, Mike, I wanted to start with a discussion in very broad terms, because we'll get specific in a minute. How has technology affected the way low and no vision learners learn?
Well, I would say right now, if you have low vision and you're surfing the website, you can definitely use software on a computer. For example, the Mac, you can definitely use Zoom. Zoom is a large print software on the Mac. And then if you have Windows, you can also use Zoom Text. But if you're getting to a point where you're seeing, 2 or 3 letters on the screen at once, that won't be efficient. So it's better to use what's called a screen reader. So you would use JAWS. JAWS stands for Job Access with Speech, and where the screen would actually be read to you with the software. And then there's another screen reader for Windows called NVDA, which is non-visual desktop access.
Mhm.
And then going back to the Mac, if you have everything enlarged and you still have trouble processing that information, you have VoiceOver, which is built in on the Mac, also on the iPad, and on the iPhone.
So a follow-up question to that. Those are all powerful technologies we're going to talk about. Going back, because you've been doing this work for a while, and also you got your master's in, what was your master's again?
It's rehabilitation teaching.
And so you probably studied a little bit of the history of it. Back like 5 decades ago compared to like today, how has the technology changed the way someone learns and just the way they learn and what they're able to do?
I think I could only use myself as a reference.
And you weren't doing that long ago, so I'm not trying to.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened was I started out on this journey before 1994 as having low vision.
Mhm.
So in 6th grade, I would say back in the late 80s, my textbook was, as Desmond said before, my textbook was huge. It's you'd have several volumes for one textbook. And when you open it, everyone on your table, if your desk's all together, everyone on your table can see it, which is not necessarily bad. It's just a way of survival.
Mhm.
And I kind of made it fun, and I didn't get too stressed out about it, but I could see how
Awesome.
some people could. I think the hardest thing for me was, for me to read something, I had to put my head to. I basically had to put on one glass, basically a jeweler's lens. It looked
Mhm.
like, where one eye was magnified, and you put your nose to the table or very very close, and I could read with that, or I would have to write very very large with a marker. So I think everyone had their books, and then I had to get things enlarged, or I had to put my face really close to things, and that was for your back and your shoulders.
Oh yeah, that would hurt.
That was not really the best way. But now the computers, and back then when computers started, the thing that frustrated me with the computer was, you would download this large print software and then you would only see part of the screen. Now the software is so complex that you can actually zoom in and out very quickly, and you could kind of see where you are and where you want to be, what you want to focus on.
Mhm.
So it's really, really helpful. And then you have your screen reader as a backup. If you get tired of reading, you can have your screen reader to read. I believe in looking at how long it takes the student to do something. So if the student is taking 4 hours to do your assignment, then that's not efficient. They have to start learning to try things in a different way. Maybe it's listening to an audiobook of the same book. If you're listening to an audiobook of Macbeth, you're still getting the assignment done. I know some students don't feel like they're getting the assignment done because they feel like, I have to see it in order to process it. No, if you hear it, maybe you can use that vision to do the quiz or answer some questions. But then you can actually use the audiobook to kind of get your reading done in 30 minutes, and then you can go play some video games. It's just, I think just realizing that there are different ways of doing something. Some people are, even with a presentation, they'll say, well, should I use low vision when I'm doing a presentation? But if you're doing a presentation with low vision, you're covering your face with the paper, right? That's not socially appropriate. So you may want to use a little bit of Braille, right? You have Braille index cards. Yeah, you have the vision that you can see print, but you're learning Braille on the side, and you could put 1 or 2 words to remind yourself of what you're talking about, and you maybe have 20 index cards, and you just flip through them, read them in Braille, and then you're able to do your presentation like everyone else. So it's finding like creative ways of learning or participating where it may not be the same, but it's getting you to complete the same task efficiently, or in another way that's more efficient.
I think that's such an important mindset for all of our students, because all of us have different skill sets and challenges. And you talked about the audiobooks. When I would have really struggled a lot more in my master's if I didn't have text to speech. And I use that so much to get through those hard papers. And so that goes to UDL, which is an episode 16, which you should all go listen to, where you are intentionally designing things that are accessible to all your students. And that helps all your students, which I think is a really cool way to do it.
And Desmond, you bring up a good point, because I had a friend who taught, she was a special ed teacher at another school, and she talked about how in the beginning of the year, they would play this little game, where all the students got an index card with different medical conditions, right? And then she'll say, okay, you student over here, you're the doctor, and I want you to give treatment, and your treatment is going to be Tylenol. So somebody comes up and says, "Oh, my leg's broken. Okay, here's some Tylenol." And okay, I have eye problems. Oh, here's some Tylenol. So it
Uh-huh.
teaches the students in the beginning of the year that, hey, one solution doesn't fit all
That is true.
problems. And also, you shouldn't be looking at your other student and saying, "Oh, you're getting something different." No, you should learn from the beginning of the year. And you can always refer back to that. Hey, didn't you learn in the beginning of the year that not
Hmm.
everybody's the same? And some of your students are going to have large print. Some of the students are going to be using Braille. Some of the students are going to be using a magnifier. So just to get students used to, hey, they're
I
doing
like
it
that.
differently. And going back a little bit, I was talking to Desmond before about how my math teacher, when I had low vision in high school, she, instead of writing things on a line, paper with lines, because I couldn't really see the lines
Hmm.
with my distance glasses, she just turned the paper sideways and wrote the equations with a marker. And I remember going to math class and writing it out with a marker, and
Yeah.
people looking over my shoulder and saying, "Wow, you did it right," we kind of all had a great time with me doing the equation, and they saw where I got stuck and they got stuck, and we were all engaged in learning math. So it just shows you the different ways of
That's really
learning
cool
math.
because
Yep.
that method helped to engage you more in the
Yes.
class
Yes.
than the other students were engaged,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
it put you front and center in engagement. That's really cool.
Yep.
Hearing you talk, Mike, I'm getting this picture of multimodalities that you have to really use. Desmond highlighted this, a resiliency and kind of a determination to implement different modalities to really meet your needs. And I think that just really speaks to the heart and soul of what a determination it can take. But with the tools that are out there now, it sounds like it's something that is totally possible for students of low vision to really have a very mainstreamed learning experience using these different modalities and determination at the core. So neat to hear you talk about that. Well, hey, Desmond, we don't want to forget to remind our viewers here today, all right? If you like the content we provide, we'd love for you to subscribe. You don't want to miss content down the road coming out. We provide a new episode every 2 weeks, so don't forget to subscribe, set your notifications, and don't miss an episode. Every 2 weeks, we drop a new one. So with that, listen, I think it's time. Let's unpack the tech.
All right, so all the time, or quite frequently, Mike and I go to church together and we hang out. And he regularly will be like, "Oh, I got this new toy," and he'll call me about it, or he'll bring it to church. And you'll see other people that spot it. And they're like, what is that device? I've never seen anything like that. And so he brought 5 different gadgets for us to talk about, for him to show off. And so we'll do a little show and tell. And we have other stuff planned in the episode, but if we don't get to it all, we would like to have Mike come back on. And we're also talking to one of his colleagues. We might do an episode with them as well, and maybe Mike will be a part of that one. So Mike, if you want to tell us a little bit about, and we'll ask some questions, the gadgets you have in front of you, one of them is going to be familiar to the audience. The others probably won't be.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So and that's where you could start with devices that are already mainstream. Like, for example, right now I'm going to put this up here. I have the Apple keyboard. So this is a keyboard that you can buy that will attach to it. And
yeah, I've got 2 right behind, or one of them right behind you.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, just like it.
And basically, we can attach it to an iPad. We can attach it to a phone, which will be a great note taker for class. So if you're taking notes, you can connect that to an iPad or a phone, and you can take notes no matter where you are. And you can have speech on your notes. So you don't even have to. You can put some earbuds or AirPods in your ear, in one ear, and you can have the other ear listening to the teacher, and you could start typing your notes, and you could have VoiceOver, which is a screen reader on the iPhone, reading every word as you type, or every letter as you type, depending on what the person needs. Okay, so that's the iPad keyboard.
Hey, can I ask a question keyboard there? So
sure.
You present, which I love, the Apple keyboard. Okay, so
yes,
kudos to you, Apple. That's my language.
we have the debate on the episode about Google products versus Apple. Right. As I have a Mac right here with Chromebook written on it.
It's not really why I asked the question, but I am curious. So, how does that compare to other keyboards, or do you just you kind of live in the Apple ecospace, so you use Apple keyboard,
You can
or is there
use
something different?
I want to say you can use any keyboard, but you may want to check. But you can use any Bluetooth keyboard. You will have to use, yeah, you will have to use commands like Apple commands. Like for example, and I forgot exactly how it works, but sometimes your Windows key might be your command key, or your option key could be your alt key. But basically, you can use any Bluetooth keyboard that says on the box that it will work with an iPhone. Yeah, so it doesn't have to necessarily be an Apple keyboard. So the next thing that we have here is a Braille version of this device. So this here is called, no, I forgot the name of it, but it's called the Orbit Writer.
Okay.
Yes, the Orbit Writer. The Orbit Writer is another Bluetooth device, and instead of you typing on the phone, typing on the keyboard, you're typing on a Braille device using a Perkins-style keyboard. So it's a Braille-style keyboard. So in the past, and even currently, we have Braille typewriters, the way you type in Braille, and it's called the Perkins keyboard. And basically it has 8 dots that represent Braille and then a space bar. So you can actually connect this to your phone and type in Braille on your phone or your iPad, and sometimes even on computers. Okay.
Do you, just for a second,
Yes.
you've talked to me about Braille, and actually I should have grabbed it, but I have your wedding, was it program
Yes.
in Braille. I
Yes.
asked for an extra copy, and I have it back there on my bookshelf. But I think for people that don't know much about Braille, just assume that you're just typing the alphabet letters, and it's just like, there's just dots instead of letters. But Braille is not that. It's a lot more than just that, right?
Yeah, Braille is basically a different code. So each dot has a position. So if you imagine a group of 6 dots, if you look at the upper left-hand corner, that would be the letter A. Okay, and if you did the 2 dots in the upper left-hand corner, that would be the letter B. And if you did the 2 dots on top of that 6-pack of, because you have 3 dots on the left and 3 dots on the right, and they're vertical dots. So if you did the 2 dots on top, that would be the letter C. So every dot has, we look at the position and we look at the number of dots. So those make letters. And then to make things more advanced, as you learn the letters, you can actually use what are called contractions. So you can actually take the letters AF, and that would mean after. Or you could take the letters AFW, and that would mean afterwards. So you can do different things. Like, for example, if you have the letter M by itself with a space before and a space after, it would mean the word more. So that's just a very simple explanation of what Braille is, but there's contracted Braille too.
This is a curiosity, I think, more than anything. So I appreciate you highlighting this, Desmond, because I'm largely ignorant myself, as I would imagine most teachers are, about the intricacies of Braille. What is, using the device you just showed, like an average
Yes.
words per minute, that a student could type
Oh wow, you
using?
got me with that one.
Okay,
I would,
all right.
I would say this. I find for myself, I probably type at 80 words a minute with a lot of errors, and 60 with no errors. But
That's fast, man.
that's using my regular keyboard.
Oh, regular keyboard.
But if I were using this device, what I find fascinating is I like note taking with these Braille devices because I'm using those contractions. So I would guess and say that I probably do around 30 for myself. Yeah.
Okay.
20 or 30. But I just like doing it because it puts me in that mode of, when you're taking notes, you don't want to write every single word that someone's saying. So it puts me in the mode of, I'm not writing every single word, so I need to make abbreviations, which it's like, hey, cool, I have this device that types contractions, Braille contractions, so I need to really think about abbreviations, and it gets me in that mental mode.
So you become a little slower but more efficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And reading, I remember you working as I've known you to get faster at reading Braille.
Yes.
What's the speed kind of on that?
So Braille, I would say, and I mean, some blind people can go up to 300 words a minute.
Whoa.
Or 200 words a minute.
I don't know how many words per minute I read, but it's probably not 300.
Me personally with Braille, and just because I haven't practiced enough and I haven't had a lot of training. Most of my training has been when I was, right now I'm 50, and I started when I was when I was 19. And that's not to say that a person can increase the speed, but that's my own personal experience. I learned when I was 19. I never really went back for any more training. I just pretty much teach myself.
Okay.
So I would say I read right now probably around 50 words a minute, but that's just I haven't had myself tested. And I don't want people to limit themselves and say, oh, you can only, it's taking me that long.
Yeah,
this is just my own personal journey, because I've always used technology and kind of cheated with technology. But Braille I usually use Braille for presentations and for reminders of things to do or labeling things around the house. But now I'm really starting to get more into reading books. And so I would say my speed is around 50 words a minute. But there are people who can go up to, there's a potential to go up to 200 or 300 words a minute.
Yeah. Now, I want to get to the other gadgets, but I'm thinking it's helpful that we've had a lot of conversations about this, which makes it fun, because you've also told me, and I guess with reading, I do the same thing to a degree, but listening to something versus reading something in Braille, you process the information different. Am I right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was learning how to, we talked earlier about the JAWS screen reader.
Yeah.
And I like to write, wanted to learn how to do scripts with the JAWS screen reader. So I kept on every year. I would download the books and try to read them and listen to them. Mm-hmm. And I would be totally lost.
Especially for a screen reader back in, before it got better.
Yeah. And so one day I decided, let me read the book in Braille,
mm-hmm.
And when I started reading the book in Braille, I actually began to understand more. So I find that for me personally, if I'm doing coding, like writing Python or learning how to do scripting or something, I have to see it in Braille, because there's a punctuation, there's the parentheses. I just have to see it in Braille. Now, when I say see it, I'm pretty much, feeling it, but in my brain, I'm seeing it, But if it's something that I don't care about, like, just casual, sci-fi books, then I'm going to listen to that in audio. But if it's something I really want to remember, I feel like I personally like to read it in Braille. And I feel like it sticks to me more when I read it in Braille.
I love that distinction.
Yep.
And just a little side note, he also has, I'm assuming you still have a pack of Uno cards with Braille on them.
Yep, I have Uno cards with Braille. And that's another good thing for schools. I mean, if your kids are playing in these after-school activities and they have, regular Uno cards, you can actually put Braille on them. You can order them from different sites, like I believe it's independentliving.com and maxiaids.com. Those websites do have where you can order games they look like normal games, but if you feel them, they have Braille on them.
It's pretty cool. We've had big group games of Uno with his cards.
Yep.
So that's really awesome. But I'm curious about some of the other devices you have. I recognize one of them. I definitely don't think I recognize. Tell us that one I don't recognize.
So this one is what's called a Victor Reader Stream, and the reason why I bought this is because it's a digital recorder. Any digital recorder. One of the challenges I had in high school was that my teacher would not allow me to record my history class, and that's because he probably said some things that he didn't want to be said. Because
watch out for the teacher doesn't know you record.
He was a cool teacher, and I appreciate that. He was a cool teacher, and I liked him being cool. But he said some things that he probably didn't want to be recorded. But for me, I felt like I could have gotten 100 on every exam if I could have recorded it. But and I tried for a time to leave it in my bag and just press record, but it didn't feel right. But that's where I was in terms of survival. But this is called a Victor Reader Stream. This recorder is about $400, around $400. Could be less or more. But what I like about it is it actually talks to you. So I'm just going to turn it on and let you hear a little bit of it. It actually talks to you and tells you how to I had it upside down. But if I press this button here, it will actually talk and tell me.
Maybe hold it to the other side of the mic.
Okay, let's see.
So we can hear it.
Let's see here.
Welcome to Victor Reader.
So it allows you to navigate different menus by pressing different buttons.
Bookshelf. Talking books. 7. Other books. 7. Music. 1. Saved podcasts. Text files. 9. Notes.
So you can actually load books on here.
Notes. 112.
And you can record classes, and you can listen to the radio, and you can do, I believe, Wikipedia searches and podcasts. So we can even get our podcast that we're doing right now on here.
Subscribe to EdTech Unpacked on this thing.
Exactly. So
Please leave a comment if you do. We want to know all about it.
exactly. So this is just to remind people that let your students record things. Let them learn to be polite and ask when they're about to record, but let them record things because it could be really, really helpful and change their lives.
As I was speaking to the teachers, early on in my career, when I started teaching at this school, I've been here a while, it's good. But when I started teaching here, we were doing live video conferencing, and part of that was to record our classes. And I was really intimidated about that for a while, of being like, what if I say something inappropriate in class that is now recorded and now I'm going to be in trouble? And I was worried about that for a while. And then one day it hit me, I'm a professional. I'm not going to say anything stupid. And if I do say something stupid, it's going to be in context. And so the recording is going to help me because I can go back and be like, hey, here's the whole thing. And I know that people take things out of context and stuff, but and so maybe I would say if you're worried about your students recording you and using it, record yourself. That way you have the whole recording. But now after doing that for quite a while, and we did have someone who was not a professional, and those recordings did come into that situation. But for anyone who is a professional, it's really, and you listening to this podcast, it's what you need. Like, it's okay. You're going to say the right things, and recording, I think, is probably going to be fine.
And on that note, Desmond, I would even highlight one step further with this, speaking to the teachers. If you worry about yourself and what you might say, because honestly, I love to joke around with the kids. I think early on in my career, this wasn't even a possibility. Maybe it was, but it just wasn't even in our thought process of, will my class be recorded? Fast forward a bit, then you start getting this element at play, especially when you have student devices in the room. And that's a whole nother element of, recording on the sly versus recording with permission. It's definitely something you need to give thought to your point, Desmond, not to be scared of. But in terms of professionalism, it's imperative we find that balance over having fun, keeping it light, but also keeping it professional. And so I actually appreciate you brought this up, because I think you're giving some of us too much credit that it comes natural that we won't say something to get ourselves. Listen, that's a reality that some of us need to confront a little bit more than others, but keep it professional. That doesn't mean you can't have a good time. Just find the balance.
Exactly. Maybe actually recording yourself or being cognizant that you might be recording will help you be a more professional, better teacher. And you should always guard what you say around your students. In life, but especially around your students. Before we move on to another gadget, I want to talk about just on your phone. I know both iPhone and Android have recording apps, and probably most computers.
Yes.
The cool thing about the Google one, I don't know if the iPhone does this, but it generates a quite accurate transcript with identifying who the different speakers are in it, and which is also helpful because then it's searchable. And then you can share that file, and you have a text file and an audio file.
That is true. I have not really used that, but one thing I have done is when I listen to podcasts, sometimes it has things that I want to go back, and I will just hit the transcript button, and it will show the transcript of the podcast. But the iPhone does have the voice memo app, and that's really, really good quality sound. That's what I used to, and I haven't tried any transcription in it lately, but I'll have to check later to see.
I can't remember. Aaron, do you know if it has transcription in it? We're just guessing on the fly.
Yeah, I'm not a power user of it, so I'll look it up here while we're chatting, but I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to tell us about one of your other devices?
So now the next thing I'm going to show is another device called the NLS eReader.
And that's the one I think I've seen you use more frequently right now, right?
Yeah.
That's the one you bring to church and stuff?
This one I think is an awesome device because it is free. And so the National Library Service in the United States, the Talking Book Service, they actually have been giving out, in some states they had a pilot program where they're giving blind people Braille devices. And this device, you can read books on it, you can download books on it. You can...
it's a full computer.
Well, I would say this one is not a full computer.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll show you one that's a full computer. But this one is just a reader, kind of like an e-reader that you would have if you were reading, like the what's a good analogy? Like the
Kindle?
like a Kindle e-reader
Okay.
kind of thing. So you can download books and you can read them in Braille, and then you can connect it to your computer or your phone. So today
That's
I
cool.
connected to my computer and I was writing reports, and I could actually read the names of the people who I was writing a report to make sure the first letter is capitalized of each name. I was feeling that in Braille. And then I could attach it to my phone and walk around with it. And then I could download books on it if I'm doing a presentation. And I just think it's really awesome because it's free. I mean, this device, there's a similar device that may cost around $5,000. And this one
Wow.
is just free and easy to carry around. And it has 20 cells of Braille, which each cell you could kind of consider a letter. And as you write your contractions, you could fit more information on each line. But basically it has 20 cells of Braille, and you could type on your phone and on your computer. And I think this is really cool.
I didn't know that's free. I think that's really cool. I
Yeah.
think that's the kind of thing our government, because it should do, because and I don't want to get political, but it empowers you.
Yes.
And I'm happy for my tax money to go to resources like that, because as we talked earlier, you can more effectively, and everyone can more effectively be a positive contributor to society, which is what brings fulfillment and purpose and what we want. Right?
And as a blind person, it's a great backup. If your Braille device isn't working, you just grab this device.
Also, you have more access to more devices than probably most blind people do.
Yes, I do. I definitely, because I work in this field. Now, this other device here.
Hey, real quick before we get to that one, I'll just mention. So yes, Apple's voice memo app does have transcription built in for iOS 18 or later, apparently. I haven't tested it. That's what I'm finding.
I'm going to have to try that.
Try it and let us know how it goes.
Exactly. Thank you. And so this other device, this now is a new device that came out recently. This is called the BT Speak. And right now, this is basically a note taker. But inside of it, it has two sides. It has a traditional side, and it has actually, I think, they call it Blazy mode now. Blazy mode, because Blazy Technology is the name of the company. You have Blazy mode, and they also have the desktop mode. And it doesn't, as you can see, it doesn't have a Braille display like the other device I just showed, but you type in that Perkins-style keyboard. So that's how you would type. And you could take notes, and the Blazy side is made for making life easier, where you just navigate a menu and you can do things by navigating a menu, like play podcasts or play games or listen to the radio or write notes like in a meeting. And then the desktop side is actually a Linux desktop. So you have the Mate or the Mate desktop, and it's running, I believe it's running Debian, like a form of Debian. And so you have a literal desktop where you can download LibreOffice Writer, LibreOffice Calc, Firefox. I'm thinking of getting rid of Firefox and using Brave because I don't like any ads.
I love it.
It's just really, I think it's so cool because you're able to use mainstream technology. It's a little bit slower because it does run off of a Raspberry Pi 4, I believe, inside of
That's inside of it?
Yeah.
Could you upgrade to, like, as a new Raspberry Pi comes out, put a new one in there?
I think they're going to eventually, in October, it's going to be a lot. Right now, this device is like $1,200, but in October, they're going to come out with a $5,000 or $6,000 device that has a terabyte of hardware, a hard drive space, and also has Braille display. Nice. And also has upgraded, I think it'll be using the Pi 5.
And what does this device here run about?
This here runs about $1,200. Yeah, so I just kind of paid for that out of pocket. And so a lot of people who are blind, sometimes they will get credit. Sometimes the state, depending on if they're using these devices for a job, the state will sponsor that device. I would just have to show, as I'm teaching that student, that they can use the device and they can make good use of it and use it on the job, or use it for independence, and then that will enable us to buy that for them. I always tell my students, there's no guarantees. Show me how you can use the device. We may or may not, because I don't make the final decision. We may or may not give you the device. It just depends on who makes that decision.
So this has been awesome. I mean, wow, I'm sitting here listening to these different devices, how they each kind of have a different application. But I'm thinking back to the intro when we asked the question about what apps are in your dock on your phone, and you mentioned three different apps at least that are assistive technologies for you. And I can't help but wonder, like, how do those play with these? Like, what are you picking up to grab on the fly? Do you mind just telling us a real quick overview of those apps and, how they help?
So the first one I have is a Bard mobile app. The Bard mobile app is where I can go and download audiobooks on my phone. And I can also download Braille books on this NLS, National Library Service Talking Books Braille device. So Bard stands for, and I always get this wrong, but it stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. Yep, I got it right. Braille,
All right.
Braille
I
and
won't
Audio
back check
Reading
you. I love
Download.
it.
And basically what you do is you go to the National Library Service online and you download books in Braille. So this device here that I had over here, this device I can download the Braille books, and I can download audiobooks. So that's what I'm always listening to that, or reading Braille on that. The other app I have is called Seeing AI, which I believe started from Microsoft. It may still be, I'm not sure. But it's an AI app that will scan barcodes on cans of food, because you don't want to be putting your pineapple into your soup.
So you can use that at the grocery store or just when you're cooking.
Yeah, unfortunately, the grocery store, you can use it at the grocery store, but it won't be the most efficient way. And that's where we go back to, maybe at the grocery store, you may have to get some customer assistance to finding your products, because it's just faster to do it that way. And then when you bring it home, you may want to scan it and organize it or label it in Braille. And Seeing AI will scan your mail. It will take pictures of people and describe pictures of people. It will scan documents. It will describe the scene in front of you. Like, a lot of times I just want to know, is my computer on or off? Because sometimes you're not getting that speech feedback from the screen reader. The other app I talked about was Aira, AIRA. That's an app where you can get human assistance. So someone, you basically hit let's say at night I'm trying to adjust my thermostat and no one's around that can see. I can open that app and connect with a human being who's working, who's been vetted to work with the blind, and they will tell me what's on the thermostat or help me sign a letter that I'm trying to sign if I hover my phone over the letter. And then you have the Be My Eyes app, which combines human assistance where someone can help you, but they're not necessarily vetted to work with the blind, but they're just volunteers. And then they also have the AI side to that, where AI is built into that, and you can use that app to scan.
Be My Eyes is a really cool app, and actually I want to link an episode of the Vergecast that I heard recently where they interviewed the founder of Be My Eyes. But it's also, you can volunteer. So I think it's a really cool thing. You can sign to volunteer. I did, and I think I helped 2 people. I ended up not using it anymore because they have this weird imbalance where there's more volunteers than there are people who need it, which is really cool. But you should still check it out, volunteer. It was such a pleasant experience too. One in particular, I helped this gentleman sort through some mail, I think, and find some stuff. He took his phone around. But they combine both AI and humans, and you can choose, right? How do you choose which one you're going to use?
When you open the app, you can choose the tabs at the bottom. You can choose whether you want AI or whether you want human. And what I like about this app too is it has a service section where you can connect to Microsoft or Apple, and you can get to their accessibility hotlines. So it just blows everything out of the water in terms of getting assistance.
Man, so I'm seeing like this picture, Mike, of like, you have the tactile tools that you brought sitting on the table in front of you there. You have the suite of apps. Desmond and I talk about this from episode to episode, just comes up all the time, it feels like. And that is, how would we ever go back to our prior teaching selves before technology? But I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at all the tools you have. What would that be like if you had to say goodbye to all the technology that you rely on? I'm just like, what would that be like for you?
I think it would feel, just personally looking at it, it would feel a sense of emptiness, because it's, you right now, if someone has it, like today, Desmond sent me a Google Doc of, what he's going to be talking about, and I'm able to read it before I get here. Imagine that. I would just be not having any idea what, which is fine. You can kind of wing it and fly along. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to access that information like everyone else does. So I think, to me, because I'm a technology lover, I guess I'd feel a sense of emptiness or a sense of disconnection. So I think having that feeling of, oh, I can go and read this, or oh, I can read this in Braille while you're speaking, that's just awesome to be able to do. Yep.
I love that. Two more things I want to do in this section, and we might end up, no, maybe this is it, because I was looking at the time. But so we're not going to have time to talk about all the stuff I want to talk about. But can you demonstrate real quick, like send me a text message on your iPhone we talked about, because iPhone is a completely, it's a touch screen. And so it's, I think, easy to think that it's not an accessible device, but Apple has done a lot to add accessibility to it. Right?
Yeah. So if you, I'm going to just hold my phone like this, and if you put your fingers over the phone, I'm putting 6 fingers over the phone. I'm not touching the phone because I know if I touch it, it's going to start doing things. But if I hover my fingers over the phone, I can literally type Braille with these 6 fingers on the phone. So now I'm going to do that to Desmond. To send him a text. Okay. So let me see if I can unlock my phone.
Katrina, if it gives my phone number, please bleep that out.
Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to open this phone. So that wants Face ID, so I got my Face ID. And I'm going to go to my messages app.
And you can hear how fast it's reading to him. And if you do many audiobooks and stuff, I often play my audiobooks at a faster speed. Not as fast as he listens to them, but still.
And the funny part is,
changing the speed.
The funny part is for me, listening to audiobooks, I listen to them for enjoyment, so I don't always speed them up.
Oh.
But if I'm doing work, I definitely have things going fast.
I like it. And your brain does kind of learn how to listen faster to things.
Yep. I joke with people and say sometimes it makes my heart rate go up. But not everybody does that. That's just me. So now I'm going to type to Desmond. So I have to touch the screen and I type let's see here.
Add contact. 2. Text field. Add contact. Results. Desmond.
Got him here. And I'm going to say
Space. Add.
One
Mark you.
second here.
Space. Number. Delete. Mike.
Of course, technology always misbehaves when you're trying to show it off.
Cancel. 2. Desmond. Add contact. Messages. Desmond. Yeah, your text.
I'm scrolling through all his messages.
Don't read them to everyone.
I'm trying to get past all this stuff. Okay, now it's really acting up today. Let's see here.
It's okay.
Cancel. Your text. Deliver. Desmond. Verticals. Apps. Message.
Okay, good. Now I get to the right place. So now I'm going to type hello and send it right a message here.
Okay. Braille screen input. Okay. Hi. Desmond. How are you doing? Den. Today.
And I'll send it.
Send message.
And the way I send it is I'm basically swiping up with 3 fingers once I finish writing in Braille. And that's how I send it.
Now, I've been known to, usually intentionally, send you a stream of emojis. What happens when you receive emojis?
So for emojis, it will actually describe them as best as they can. Now, it's really funny because sometimes it's not 100% accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember someone sent me an emoji, and I thought it was an evil smile, so I thought they were being mischievous. But apparently they were being just friendly, and I totally mistook what they're saying. So emojis are fun, but I don't always get very, very 100% accurate. So I always kind of think of them as, okay, this is cool, but I just have to make sure that I'm getting the right description. But they describe it as best as they could.
And that can largely be true too with seeing them. True. I'm on Android and Aaron and you are on iPhone. If I send you an emoji, it looks different on an iPhone than it does on an Android, because there's interpretation on each platform. And so that happens visually as well.
Yes.
All right, so I wanted to ask another device, but I'm not. We'll have to save it for another episode because we are out of time. But there was a few key things that you wanted to mention about to teachers as far as methods and things to remember. Do you want to give us those real quick?
Oh yeah, sure. So just to think, when working with blind and low vision students, things to think about: letting them use the cane in class and to get around freely and independently. I know a lot of people use sighted guide, and I respect, people who do that. But I think it's good for a student to learn how to navigate. They may need time to navigate the classroom and move around independently and freely with the cane. Also, learning to come to places earlier. If you want a seat, let's say, you're going to go to the auditorium with everyone else. You may want to start. I'm not saying you have to let your student go earlier than everyone else, but you may want to let them know in their mind that this is something that's key. If you get there earlier, or maybe check out the auditorium in a quiet time when you get to school early in the morning or after school, just to see where things are so that you're more efficient with travel. And I think just being flexible. And it's a journey where you're both learning, the student is advocating for themselves, and you're also working together to help them to learn, because they're not only going to be working with you, but they're going to be working with other people who are maybe not familiar with blindness. So they have to learn to advocate for themselves, but also explore for themselves and learn at the same time. So it is a journey. And also to remember that not everybody is going to be like me, or there are people who are even better than I am. There are people who would sit in this podcast and read everything in Braille, so everybody's on a different level, and you just have to determine where that person is, and you're both on that journey together.
Very cool. Well, I am convinced, and it's nice because Mike and I are friends, that we will have more episodes on this, because we have things in our notes that we didn't even get to mention, even more devices. That there's one that has, I'm just going to mention it. We don't have time to talk about it, but it has like a 3D display. Mike and I had crazy conversations about that. I didn't get to see it yet, but he got one at work to play with. But today we were able to talk about how best to reach your blind and low vision students. And you may or may not get the privilege of teaching a student who needs visual assistance. But if you do, I hope you get to, because I found it to be a real blessing. To be able to help them problem solve, to help them, as you just described, Mike, find more independence in life. And that's what we want for all of our students. And so I hope that these gadgets and toys, not toys, tools, they feel like toys sometimes,
Yes,
don't they?
Definitely.
We're able to, and these methods help you get a better insight onto what it's like to be blind and low vision and how to help your students. Aaron?
Yeah, you bet. And before I jump into this wrap up here, Mike, I just want to say this has been so educational. One of my favorite episodes we've done, because I'm sitting here learning so much. So thank you so much for all that you shared today. You've been absolutely amazing. Hope we can have you back on a future episode. So thank you again.
You're welcome. I'll be glad to be back.
Awesome.
Subscribe so you can get that.
I will subscribe.
That's right. That's where we're headed with this.
Both on the device and on my phone. So.
Perfect.
So, hey, we want to invite you as well. If you enjoyed the episode, if you have questions, if you have problems that we can help solve, send those to us, to our help desk. You can do that by visiting edtechunpack.com. There's a place to submit an audio recording or shoot us an email, fill out the form, whatever you prefer. And, hey, don't forget to follow us, whether it's right here on YouTube. If you're watching this episode today, again, subscribe, and don't forget to set your notifications. We're also on Blue Sky, X, Instagram, and Facebook. So wherever you're at, we hope to be there too. Follow us and join the conversation.
Along with Spotify now. We're now on Spotify. So find us on there. That's new. So I don't know that everyone knows. It's kind of a secret that we need to let everyone know. But I'm going to end with our blessing. And I feel like the whole episode was a blessing for me. And so encouraging. I always feel that way when I get to hang out with Mike. And so, but we want to remind you that you get the opportunity to be a blessing to your students. And whether it is your low to no vision students or all of your students enter your classroom, you have the privilege of blessing them and to help them as you described. I love that closing, Mike, where you get to help them find independence and find success in life. And that is really such a big part of why you're a teacher. And so all of this fits right into, I think it's why we get so excited, because it fits right into what we feel called to as teachers, is to teach our students independence, to teach them how to be successful in life, and to pass the blessing on to others. And remember, there is no substitute for great great teaching. It is not just about the tools and technology you use, but how you foster meaningful relationships with your students to transform their lives. Be blessed.